there's someone to fill my cup. For those that I've done wrong, for those that I've known for oh so long, I'll always hold a place in my heart for you.
I want to welcome everybody to another episode of Memories of Us, and I think today you guys are going to be very, very inspired. I got the chance to talk to Mr. Forrest, Mr. Wayne Forrest, and we was talking earlier before all of this, and I tell you what, I didn't want to miss anything, and I know you guys are going to just enjoy this. So without further ado, Wayne, how you doing today, brother?
Great, thanks, Tony, mate, and thank you. It's a really pleasure to be on your platform.
It's an honor to have you here. It's an honor to have you here. So, we was talking a little bit earlier before this. Tell people, first off, I want everybody to know that Wayne is in New Zealand, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so he's in New Zealand. So we going across the world, people, and there's, as always, we find these exciting, amazing, inspiring people, and it's no doubt that Wayne is one of those people. And enjoy his story, enjoy his journey, and listen to what he's saying. He has a lot of knowledge to give you, and in doing the work that he's doing. But it's the journey that got him there that will have you guys sitting on the edge of your seat. So, Wayne, tell people about who you are.
Oh, thank you, Tony. Tony, there's some kind words. So I grew up in a little country village on the east coast of Hawke's Bay in New Zealand here, and I came from a farming background, so grew up on the front of my grandfather's horse out on the farm, and loved it. Tried to immerse myself in it as much as I possibly could, or as much as my mother would let me. Of course, got to that age, about 5, I had to go to school. I wasn't that pleased about going to school. Tried to avoid school as much as I possibly could, but school had sport. And so sport really suited me. Loved it, loved being physical and outdoors. And so as I grew up and as soon as I could, I left school. I could do, most things on a farm, even from an early age of 10, 12 sort of age group. I could work like a man at that age, and also playing sport. And so I started a couple of businesses around farming and was playing rugby for my local club. And one particular morning, Saturday morning, my team had key personnel away, so I was asked to step up and be captain of my team, which I thought was a great honour. And so I did, and right in the last minutes of that game, I made a terrible mistake when I took the ball into contact with 2 of the opposition and dislocated my neck. And I remember lying on that field just, in terrible pain and yelling out. And because I had injured my neck, I couldn't breathe. So my voice was actually barely a whisper, just yelling out, help. Long story short, the ambulance helicopter took about over an hour to get to me, and the doctor that had travelled with it asked me if I wanted any pain relief or had any pain relief, and I was like, no. So he gave me some medicine and I passed out. And I didn't really come conscious until about 5 days later. And by memory, I think it was a Thursday, and I woke up and I really did think that I was in the middle of a bad dream, and I couldn't move anything. I couldn't move my hands, legs, arms, nothing, and just it was really surreal, and I didn't, I couldn't believe it had happened. And for many mornings, I would wake up after sleep and just think, oh, it was a bad dream. Oh shit, still can't move. But as time got on, I got better and a little bit better and went to physio. And I soon learned that, my dream, my first love was farming. So I made a clear dream or goal to get me back to the farm. And I think that really helped pull me to create the strength and the action steps to eventually, after a couple of years, get strong enough to run 1,100-acre farm again from a wheelchair. And, there was goals that I had set in between that big dream. And one of them was getting strong enough to transfer and drive. And by driving, it gave me independence because I lived so isolated in a little country town, driving was big because it gave me the ability to go out socializing, watch the rugby, or go to town on my own, or drive something or get something adapted for the farm so I could manage and shift stock and things like that. And my life started to get better and better and open up more and more. So then I sort of went on to looking for new things that were going to make me grow as much as that did. And I came across a organization that was doing a pilot course for people with disabilities integrated with people that didn't have physical disabilities. And they were doing mountain abseiling, rock climbing, scuba diving and paragliding and things like this that were so terrifying for me. So I thought, wow, this is just the challenge I need. And got into it. And from there, I just started realizing I was helping people push through their own fears, and that was making me feel better about myself. And I wanted more of it. So I got into self-development. I got in working for a local college or secondary school, as I think Americans say, helping young men that were struggling at school. And from there, I just went into more self-development and did an online course with a lady called Mary Morrissey from LA. And she gave us 2 free tickets to a 3-day live. And there was a voice in me that was just saying, do it, just do it. So me and my wife came over to LA and we did the 3-day course. I loved the people. I loved the vibration in the room and the teachings around transformation. And I just knew I wanted to be a life mastery consultant through the Brave Thinking Institute. And I was home. I've been helping support people with spiritual principles of transformation for the last 4 years. And mate, yeah, it's fantastic.
Now, see, that is beautiful. And I love the fact that what you said, helping people develop themselves through spiritual transformations, correct? Now,
yeah.
What does that entail?
Well, first of all, it's finding out what you would love. It's a real powerful question, that, Tony, So often we don't ask that question. We end up asking ourselves, what can we do? Or what does my circumstances say I can do? We talked about, both our lives have had quite a journey through them, right? And it's so easy to say that this is what my education says I can do, or this is what my past says I can do, or my circumstances, conditions, whatever. it's a totally different question when you ask, what would I love?
I love
And
it.
when you ask yourself that question, there's often something deep inside you that is bubbling. If you ask it enough, right, there's something inside you that is seeking to express out of you.
Right.
And when you are doing something you love, you don't work a day in your life.
That's
right?
very, very true. That's very true. Because
Yeah.
doing what I do now, doing nonprofit work, I get up and do exactly what I enjoy doing every day. I enjoy doing the podcast. I enjoy going out and meeting new men and talking with them and hearing, just holding space with them, just being there with them in that moment, right? And for me, I found purpose in servitude in others, helping, just being there as a support beacon, right? And wanting to give something back to them, because I realized a long time ago that it wasn't about me. It was bigger than me, right? And I just happened to be on the road to it. And so I became a visitor on that journey of just wanting to connect and support and build a strong community of men that have gone through it, right? Gone through, because we're not the only ones. And for those people out there that are listening, no, they're not the only ones neither. I know it can seem that way, right? It can seem such a lonely path, especially when you're in the midst of it, man. Especially when you're right there. Everything is about, why did this have to happen to me, right? And what do I do next? I never really thought about it of going, what do I love? Because now I do, right? And listening, I'm going, now I do. Now I look at it and go, what do I love? Well, this is what I enjoy doing. This is what I love doing. And there's differences. You can enjoy doing something, but then you can also love doing something. The things that you enjoy doing are sort of like secondary desires. But the thing that you love doing is a primary focus, right? It's the center of your passion. And I think that's right there. Listen to you. That's where that driving point comes. You're seeing something and you're going, I can do that. And then the universe provides everything else that you love doing, right? It starts setting you up for these things. It's like, oh, you remember how you used to, hey, we still have sports. When you think about this, oh man, I love doing that. Well, we can do this over here. Man, I love doing that. And it kind of levels out that pathway for you, right? And it provides everything that you need, these little tools and things along the way.
Yeah, and I'd even go a little bit deeper in that, Tony. It's always been there, right? That path, those tools, those opportunities. It doesn't matter what background you've got, right? If you get connected in what you would love, and I love how you said that servitude is the key. And I've heard it said, and I love it, that as men, right, there's a part of us that is looking for love. Even if you're the hardest, hard-ass, big man on the street, man, they're still looking for love, man. Underneath that hard shell, there's still that little boy who's looking for love, right? And the love that we're seeking is actually in the servitude of giving that love to others.
Yes.
That same little boy that's seeking the love that didn't get it when he was growing up, or didn't get the love he thought he needed, right?
Mm-hmm.
That love he's seeking for is in that servitude that you just said. And that is, when you understand that, oh my God, that's a big game changer, because you put those two things together. Normally, if you ask and get really clear on what you would love, it is in servitude of others.
Yes. Yeah. And that's where I found my biggest driving point. I'm always looking for someone to give it to, right? Every time I no longer, when we're trapped in our ego mindset, we always looking for people to give us things, right? We always looking around. What can I get from you? What can I get from you? When I changed that mindset and realized what I was carrying, right? And I heard this quote right before I figured it out. And the person said, people aren't here for you. They're here for what you're carrying. So that raised my curiosity. I said, what am I carrying? What is this thing that's beating inside of me that wants out so bad, right? It became this burden. Then once I figured it out, I went, oh, I can give this to people. So then my mission became, every time I go into a place now, and I'm going, who can I give this to? Who can I give this to? Who needs what I have to give right now? You don't even have to know my name. I know what you want from me, and I want to give it to you, right? And because my goal, and I think everybody that embarks on these journeys, our goals are to leave people better than what we found them.
Beautifully said, man. Totally beautiful. And another way of looking at it from what we teach is that longing and that discontent. This universal, there's a power that's breathing us, right? Whatever you like to call it. But your heart can't beat on its own, and you can't breathe on your own, right? There's something that's intelligence about this universe. And you can call it God, you can call it universe, you can call it infinite self, you can call it Buddha, you can call it whatever you like, and it's individual to that person. But there's one power, and that power is speaking through us, through our longing for what we haven't yet created, and the discontent with our current circumstances. And if you use that longing and discontent to find what you would love, it sets you on the journey. And that's exactly what you just said. I've just turned it around from my words and my understanding.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
But that's taken you on this path. You listen to your discontent of where you were, and you listen to that longing of what you would love to create, and that pulled you and pushed you to who you've become today.
It became a burden, right? In so many ways, and I love that you gave it from your perspective, because I think everybody, once they realize how they're looking at things, it changes their perspective, and maybe it gives them a broader view of everything from their life, right? What do you want? What do you love in this life? Now figure out the steps and take them. Now we talked a little bit earlier, and I wanted to just touch on it a little bit. Before your accident, you and one of your friends were traveling somewhere, right? And was watching the accident unfold on the news, correct? And
yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead.
We were just sitting at home. We'd traveled together overseas once before, and he came visiting me. And we were just sitting, having some dinner and having a quiet beer, and we were watching the news. And an accident had happened where about 20 young people got killed in the wilderness on a platform that collapsed, and only 2 survived. And one of those 2 broke every bone in his body, his jaw, his neck, and he was going to be in a wheelchair. And that was the night before my game of rugby that I made a mistake. It's amazing what we focus on sometimes is how the universe then put me in the same position, and I ended up in a bed right beside that young fella who had broken every bone in his body. And guess what? In the coming months of our rehab, I was envious of that young man because he had more movement than I did, right? And more power. And it's just funny how these experiences happen,
Yes.
and how these life lessons happen. And I suppose the biggest thing that we didn't talk about, Tony, that I figured out about that experience was what we think creates a chain reaction.
Yes.
And there's what we call the results formula, right? Our thoughts create a feeling. And our feelings create emotions in our body, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which dictates what actions we take. So if I'm feeling happy, expansive, I'm going to take a totally different action than feeling sad, angry, depressed, or frustrated, right?
Right.
And those actions then create our results.
That makes total sense.
Most people don't understand that. They look at their circumstances and situations and the crap that they're facing and think that that's what's causing their results. Right? We talked about, just maybe being in prison or being caught and having to go to prison, right? That would be easy to blame that circumstance for your results. But there was a thought that started that in the first place, right? That created a feeling, that created different actions because of that feeling. And when people understand that, obviously there's a link, I believe, between me having that thought that, and I didn't say this a little bit earlier, but when I saw that young man on the TV that had broken every bone in his body, the thought that I shared with my friend was that I think I'd rather be dead. Only 36 hours later, I was in the bed beside him with a broken neck.
Now, see, the world, the universe works. It's funny that way. It does things like that. And I know, just like yourself, listening to you, I'm going back and thinking about some of the things I've had happen. How many times I've looked over and seen the person going, man, I'm so glad I'm not you, right? Only to have some sort of, because it's already out there now, right? You know what I'm saying? So in my mind, I'm, seeing this person like, man, I'm thinking to myself, I'm glad I'm not you, right? Put it out there in the world. Next thing you know, I am that guy. So talking about being humbled, right? Being brought down a little level. I remember the first time I seen someone homeless, I looked at him and said, man, I was mad because I didn't understand. I was like, how are you homeless? And they go, life just did this and life did that. And I used to take it for granted. I used to go, no, man, you got to pick yourself up by your bootstraps and keep going. And life did exactly that. It tested me. It put me in a situation to where I lost everything. And I think I was around 22. Around 22 when it happened. I lost everything, and I had no family around me. And sure enough, the same guy that I was on the streets with, and he became a good friend of mine. Right? We slept behind many dumpsters. We slept under many bridges. Trees, you name it, we've been there. Right? And it was the mindset of I knew that I did not want to be there, but I didn't make the connection of how to get out of it. And so after watching him, he became my mentor because I realized where he was at, he was stuck. which allowed me to learn from that and go, I don't want to be here for the next 4 years. I need to change something. So figuring it out, right? Walking that path and looking at my boy and going, when I get to where I'm going, I'm coming back, I'm going to get you. I'm coming back to get you. You don't need to be on the streets. You helped me out since I was here. Unfortunately, when I did get myself established, and it took a little bit more time from there, I went to searching for him and I found him, but he was dead. He had froze to death, right? And I was the only one that knew. So I called the police, have them come get him. And from that day forth, that still lingers in my mind, that some people just need someone there with them. And he was that person for me, right? And then I realized once I left him, he had no one else. So I made a conscious decision and went, I don't ever want someone else to feel that way. I don't ever want someone else to feel alone in their journey, because for one, I now get it. I understand. And it became that first little bit of knowledge that I extracted from it that helped get to the next step, right? Growing my mind, expanding my thinking, taking it to the next step. And there's a lot of people out there right now. And I really hope that when they're listening to this, they can catch those gems and those tools that you're putting out there. Because for one, you realize that you can't do it alone. You realize that you had to make some modifications for yourself and go through those struggles, but you got through it. Well, you didn't get through it, you grew through it. You extracted from it and you adapted yourself, even with all the challenges. Now, and with that being said, because I want people to get the depth of it, what was the challenges that you faced? Because I know you have 2 girls, right? And being a father, now you have this injury and moving forward. And was you married at the time?
Yeah.
Okay, so now you have a wife and going on. What was some of the challenges that you face? I know we talked a little bit about it, by having someone help you all the time, do those simple things like brush your teeth, shower, and things like that. So, going into that.
Yeah, great question, mate. What the biggest challenge was up here, and it was one, asking for help, but it was the shame. It was the shame that came with the accident, because I was a strong, independent man, right, that all of a sudden couldn't do these things by myself. I wasn't the father anymore that I used to be physically. I wasn't the husband, right? And my first marriage didn't survive the shock of being a different person, really, because 1 minute you're this independent physical person, and then all of a sudden you're reliant on so many people. And you can imagine the challenges of that, especially if you're a physical male who is independent, didn't have to ask for help, could do most things, right, with his hands and the strength that we have. And so that shame, that took a long time to heal, that I'm good enough, as even in a wheelchair, I'm good enough, and I'm still powerful, and I'm still, I had to build myself up again from ground zero. I like to think it's probably very much like losing your best friend, and then, that's past. You have to mourn for him, and then day by day you get stronger and stronger and start finding that independence without that person in your life. So it was very similar for me, and the girls, beautiful. The kids are so resilient. But still, I can remember the first time they saw me about 3 weeks after my accident, and they came into the hospital room. And being twins, I had a lot to do hands-on as a dad, and quite often took the one that caused the more troublesome, I suppose, for her mother. I often took her with me on the farm, and did things on the farm, would have her in the ute or on my back or whatever, And she saw her dad in that hospital bed at 16 months and packed a total wobbly on the floor. And as a father, mate, my instincts were to go and pick her up. And I couldn't, and that reinforced that shame that I'm not a good dad anymore. I'm blah 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 blah. That internal voice that we have that wants to put us down and kick us in the teeth when we're down, right? And so it took me a lot of work, and I'm to heal that part of myself, and to create a man that I'm proud of and love again, without the ego this time.
See, that's amazing, because I was just talking to someone earlier, and we was talking about the ego, right? And I don't think people really understand how big of a role ego plays in your thought pattern, and how it can, actually take you in a totally different direction, right? And I didn't realize that as well, because I, listening to it, and the person I was talking to earlier and now talking with you, it just reaffirms everything, like, get your ego in check, right? And I didn't understand that. There was a lot of things that I did not know, did not understand, until I started walking that path, right? Because once you walk that path, once you figure out what it is that you love, those things do come into play, because the first time you fail at something that you love doing, it's discouraging. And the ego says, hey, why are you doing that when we can go over here and do this over here, right? The ego, the brain knows you. It's figured you out. And I believe, and I heard this from another speaker, you have to figure the brain out, right? Your brain is designed to take you to these wonderful, beautiful places that only exist in your own mindset. And that's where the ego sits in, because if the ego can take you and keep you there, then you stop focusing on the things that you love, and you begin to focus on the things that aren't going so well, right? To feed that negative input that's coming into there that we call the ego. And the ego doesn't care. The ego is just like, as long as I can keep you from doing that, I'm safe over here, right? I have the keys over here, right? That's what it said. I got the keys over here. You can't do anything. And this person says something to me. She goes, what if you stop looking at it from this end and you start looking at it from this end? And once you start looking at it from this end, take that away and now look at it from a more expanded view and realize your own potential. It's limitless. And I was just going, wow, that is amazing, right? All of these things I've been trying to figure out. And in 3 minutes, she laid it all out on the table. And I went, you know what? I don't feel so smart anymore. She goes, no, you have to, right? Because I've been searching, right? And I knew on the outside of there where my unconscious mind would take me, but it was the subconscious mind that was keeping me and blocking me. So now I have to sit down. Now listening to you, I'm going, well, I'm gonna have to go back to the drawing board, because I have to now think about so I'm learning over here.
And you don't have to go back to the drawing board. The beautiful thing is that we are all individually where we're meant to be.
Very true.
right? And this is the beautiful path, right? Your path is taking you to the point, and me, right, where we're creating more and more awareness of these things. One, how the mind works, which you've talked about, and I do a lovely teaching around the three things that we need to know about how our brain works. And I've already shared one, and that was that results formula, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we've got an ancient brain, right? And it's focused on keeping us safe. And that was from the old saber-tooth tiger, or the follow caveman who's going to smack us on the head if we did something wrong, right? We had real fear back in those days of our life being in danger, and we had to have the quick instincts, because if we even got a sniff of a saber-tooth tiger, we were dead, right? And now we use that same part of the brain to worry about what our neighbors are saying about us, or what that fella's thinking about us, or I shouldn't have said that, right? So we're now focusing on a different kind of fear. And so that is what we're looking out for to keep ourselves safe. And this is the part that you said about the ego, right? And then there's the third bit, the reticulating, activating system of the brain. I know that's a bit whoa, right? But this part is like a flashlight. It's like walking through a huge, dark warehouse, right? And it's really dark, and you're a little bit scared of the dark. And you can see the door way over in the distance, and it's got a crack of light, and you've got a tiny little torch. You're focused on that doorway. You're walking straight towards that doorway with your head down. You get outside, and your friend turns around and says, "Man, did you see that Lamborghini in that warehouse, and that gold and all those treasures around the warehouse?" And you go, "Nah, man, I was just worried about the door," right?
Yeah.
And that's what our brain does. It is focusing on that fear to keep us safe. So it's focusing on, what's my brother saying about me, or what does my workmate think of me, or whatever that is, right? And then you put those two things with that formula that I said, our thoughts create our feelings, actions create our results. So we're focused on what's going to go wrong, creates a feeling, which creates the result. So it's a nasty little circle of boom, 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 unless you ask a different question. And that's where, what would I love, right? And of course, the fear wants to get in the way, or the ego wants to get in the way of what would I love.
Right.
But it's only a form of thinking. And when you understand that it's us that is in the way of that potential, that possibility. It's not our circumstances. It's not the universe. This universe is actually abundant. If you can dream it, it's possible. If you can see it in pictures in your mind, it's definitely possible. So why not focus on something you would love instead, and make that the tunnel vision? Because you're going to see all sorts of gold and Lamborghinis and stuff in your warehouse if you focus on the right thing.
I definitely love that. Definitely love that. So how can people find you?
Mate, I'm on Facebook. I've got a page at the moment that I'm creating a community around, and that's turning disability into a life of possibility. More than welcome to join that. I'll give you the link so you can put it in the show notes. I've got an Instagram page as well, Wayne Forrest NZ on Instagram. And yeah, I've also got a website which has got a free downloadable if they want that as well. So that's wayneforrest.com.
All right, I'm gonna be putting those links down below. Now, if you could say something to someone out there going through a similar situation, what words would you give them of encouragement?
Take a deep breath, man, and know that you've got this, and ask different questions and stay curious.
Stay curious. I love that. Normally, I would have something to say behind that, but I think you hit the nail on the head. You know, for all of those people out there, if you didn't hear them, stay curious. You know, don't let the ego take over. Don't focus on the things that you love and follow that path. Your heart will guide you, and you know, don't be afraid to take those chances. And if you've learned anything from the conversation that we had today, anything is possible. Wayne is such an inspiring person, man, and I hope you guys got that from him as well. Such an amazing individual to take something of breaking his neck, coming back and being able to help other people that are struggling find their path and get out of their own way to live the life that they enjoy living. And with that being said, I want to say thank you for tuning in for another episode of Memories of Us. Until next time, you guys keep your head up, stay inspired, and keep moving forward, because community is the key to everything. Support one another, love one another, and make sure that you're there for one another. Until next time, you guys have a blessed day.